Radiant team banned.
I am feeling fantastic. You know, that game one was something else. We saw Boom go for what we considered a slower draft with that Spectre. They still make it work. Surprising us because we're so used to them just running at you all the time, going with cores that don't take too much farm. They actually make the Spectre work out in their favor. Reality Rift tried to go back to their Spirit Breaker and it didn't pay off. Hustler just could not get the catch out. He kept chasing down Mikoto to no avail. They could only really find Hyde. And every time they did, Boom Esports would just collapse into them afterwards. So I'm hoping Reality Rift do shape up their draft. Like, give us a stronger draft to come out. Don't commit to your two supports early on. That's something Boom Esports will exploit quite hard. And beyond that, maybe shake up their game a bit. It felt like they weren't giving enough priority to their own timings. They were just kind of taking it a bit too slow in game one.
5 seconds remaining. Dire team banned.
Oh yeah.
And I went from this, right, the stock standard stuff. I went from the mango. Real juice, by the way. Pretty darn nice.
Yeah, I'd have to say the juice blends are good. Mine is the mix. So it's the chaos mix. It's the energy plus juice. Pretty darn good.
Thank you for that, Jonathan. Apart from that, you were talking about the first series. Reality Rift, I liked their draft. I thought it was interesting, I thought it was different, I thought it was unique. But it didn't work. And that's what really matters, right? It's got to work. When you're playing against a team like Boom Esports, who were fairly close to taking the series yesterday up against Fnatic, who are probably the heavy favorites in the whole of the BTS Pro Series for the SEA region, right? You've got to go a bit more beyond that. You already mentioned it, but game one, they couldn't lock anyone down. They had a Spirit Breaker, they had an Enigma. Great and well, we love watching those heroes. But if you can't keep anyone locked down so your OD can actually hit anybody, or, you know, there was of course Drew on the Troll who was farming quite spectacularly to start with, but if you can't hit anybody with Troll or OD, it means nothing. And I believe we will be going into a pretty big draft shake-up this time around. I don't believe they'll run those same kind of lineups. But we know Boom Esports, they love to play these very, very mobile heroes. They love jumping around the team fights. They like starting another team fight within a team fight. Right? They like creating havoc. You cannot have these heavily reliant, long cooldown kind of heroes, I don't think. You can't have an OD and an Enigma on the same team. It just doesn't work.
Definitely not. Not against team like this, as you mentioned. Just Boom makes it very hard for you to play around those timings. So you'd want to go with something that isn't as constrained with that. And you said Boom loves going in and out, forcing mini team fights. They did ban out the Ember and the Void Spirit, so Boom don't have those tools. The Storm Spirit's still in the pool, and we know Mikado does play that hero as well. So that is an option Boom could be looking at now. With the two spirits banned out, Earth Spirit not being in contention, Storm is going to be a very big option that's open here for Boom.
There's no need for you to talk about Earth Spirit like that, sir. Okay? He is in contention, just nobody's brought him out yet. It's a secret strategy that teams are saving. I know it, I feel it. Boom Esports, they will go into the Tusk. Can't blame them for that. John Hyde was doing a great job on that Tusk. And really, he was one of the real big reasons why you couldn't lock anyone down. Every time you try to jump the man or try to jump any of his teammates, Snowball comes out, and it's like, what are you going to do? Nothing.
Nothing. We saw him use that to great effect, especially against the Enigma. You'd see the black hole come out, his snowball would come out immediately to get that stun off. Just, even if he'd die, he would waste so much time with how many stalling tactics the Tusk does give your team. So Boom Esports can't be faulted for going back. It's just super solid for them. Plays really well with how they want to run those games, just really aggressive early on. I would like to see what Reality Rift change up. Like, are they going to go back to that Shadow Demon, perhaps? A lot of teams have been going for that hero straight up. Nope. They go to Phoenix, so they've got much better team fight presence. I mean, it's your namesake, so it's one of your favorites.
That's right. MLP Dota doesn't stand for My Little Pony, for everyone that's not aware, so please stop making that reference. It'll probably never happen though. It's my fault, John. I choose stupid names. I don't think about things before I do them. Yes, the Phoenix comes up. Arguably a much better support to have than, say, a Shadow Demon Spirit Breaker already. Egg is always useful. Fire Spirits are kind of completely broken. He's strong in the lane, he's strong in team fights, he's strong every stage of the game. And if you go super late game now, level 20 talent, Supernova Sunray, pretty darn good. Reality Rift as well will kind of combo that with the Mars, and John, we know if you're locked in an arena while the egg's going, you're not going anywhere. You're gonna have to cop the damage, you're gonna cop the stun.
Definitely. It's a great combination for Reality Rift to have. I think it's gonna work out quite well. They should play around those timings. They should give their Phoenix space to breed. You want a fast level 6 to be coming out for that Phoenix. You want the Mars to be able to win out in his lane as well, shut down the enemy safe laner. That's the key factor. With a Riki coming out from Boom, I don't think that's going to be a tall order for Reality Rift. Right? Like, the Riki can be strong, especially with the Tusk. You will have to watch out for Tag Team and the Blink Strikes coming out. That is fairly potent. But Riki's super squishy. That's something Mars can abuse. Even Phoenix can kind of abuse quite well. So I do like how the lanes are looking for RR. Definitely much better than game number 1. Boom going back to the Riki. You know, it's a hero with some strange timings, I want to say. Like, you definitely have some issues with itemization as the game goes on. You're not the fastest Flash Farmer as well. So it can be a slow build-up, especially if you go for the Battle Fury route after the defusal. That can just be... It feels super sluggish, but it can come online, and it can be devastating if you give it way too much space.
It certainly can. And when you've got a hero like Tusk, who can amplify the damage from the Riki, especially early on, you know, you run in, you tag team, you shards or snowball, Riki blink strikes, and you're dead. There's no getting out of that. And it is, I mean, we've seen Boom Esports run it. We've seen every team basically run this POS 1 Riki. It really is quite scary. Once you have defusal up, that's when the torture begins. It's not fun. It's quite a painful existence when you have to play against that. Nevertheless, we are waiting on one more ban from Reality Rift. Now, Boom Esports, they do get rid of the Slaughter. They don't want to have that very disgusting matchup for a Riki, which is absolutely fair enough. Reality Rift, they get rid of the LC, which we don't really know why they've gotten rid of that yet, but you could already make the argument up against the Phoenix. The LC would have been quite disruptive because you just juked the Phoenix, he can't do anything, and I'm sure they're going to have some kind of other mobile core coming out, perhaps even the Storm like you talked about earlier on, that could be quite devastated by an LC pick.
Definitely. It's a possibility for RR. The Storm would be able to shine here. You only really have to worry about the Riki's smokescreen. They do go into the snap, so you've got excellent combinations. We talk about the Mars combinations all the time being the Phoenix and snap. We don't see those two together. We get treated to that very big teamfight potential by Reality Rift this time around.
Is it too much though? Because if I may, usually you'll see one or the other. Like, it'll either be the Phoenix or Snapfire. Is it too much to have both? I mean, they're both quite squishy. I mean, Snapfire especially. If Riki jumps on you as a Snapfire, you are dead. There's no getting out of that. As long as he has smokescreen defusal, you're gone. The Phoenix as well, not the tankiest of heroes.
Yeah.
It may cause some kind of chaotic kind of team fight, the way I'm kind of thinking about it now, because if you drop a nice arena and you have Egg plus Mortimer's Kisses, it could be like, which one do you focus? Do you cancel the Mortimer's Kisses, or do you go after the Egg? Maybe that's the concept that RR is going for here. Would you agree?
Yeah, that's what they're going for. As you mentioned, there are ways for Boom to kind of play around that. The Riki is actually not constrained by the arena. I think he can blink out. So you're not going to be trapping this guy inside. Everyone else can kind of stay in. I think Tusk can actually snowball out as well. So how much you can get from the Mortimer's Kisses in the arena is up in the air. If you land everything, if you get the initial control, like the key thing's not even landing off of those big spells, it's landing the spear. You really have to get that spear onto the Riki. Reality Rift, it feels like they've gotten a bit of a corner here. Like, they get the Void, so it's looking a bit tighter in terms of the team fight, right? You don't actually need to worry about landing the spear anymore, you can miss the spear, have the Void throw the Chrono out. So a much more solid way of fixing that issue. But, Mike, Void into Oracle? If you don't catch that Oracle, you're getting disarmed.
It seems as though RR said, okay, last time we couldn't lock anybody down, let's make sure they can't get out. Like, Chrono, you're not getting out of that. You're stuck. Arena, most heroes won't be able to get out of it. Like, you made the argument, Tusk can do so, no problems. Ricky, I believe, can also Blink Strike out. But they are getting those combos to really make sure you are not going anywhere. Boom Esports, however, respond now with the Centaur War Runner. A very tanky target, never fun to play against if you are a Void. You just really hit yourself when you hit the Centaur, and I don't know. Reality, like, I love the team fight, but it just it feels like if it doesn't come together, they fall apart. Because Boom Esports, they have this kind of lineup where they're just going to get solo pickoffs every single time, and if you're missing a piece of the puzzle. If you're missing that Mars, if you're missing the Void or the Snapfire or the Phoenix, is it going to be as effective as if you have all of them? No, it's not going to be. And with a hero like Ricky that can pick them off so easily, I don't know. I question it.
I had a big question mark when the Void came out. Like, you mentioned great team fight with everyone else. The Chronosphere does stop everyone, but the key issue is that you're always going to actually have to capture the Oracle. Even if he doesn't get the disarm off, the false promise means you're not killing anyone inside that Chronosphere. There's still enough time for the Chrono to fade and that here to maybe get some damage out. Maybe the healing coming out from the Oracle is going to be too much. So Reality Rift actually, you know, we tend to give a lot more leeway with a Void. We say, like, yeah, you just need to throw the Chronosphere every single time. In this case, you need to get those timings down, and you need to find Ricky plus Oracle, right? You need to catch that duo every single time. Oracle will sit at the back. We've seen that multiple times. Even if there's nothing like the Avenger to pull you out of the Chrono, you only really need Oracle outside to stop the utility of that spell. So Reality Rift need to play a really perfect game. The lane matchup for the Centaur and the Void does favor the Centaur as well. The Time Walk limits you. You mentioned that as well. You try to trade with Centaur, you're only hurting yourself. So those are things to watch out for Reality Rift. If they pick something up in the last pick that is tied into teamfight as well, I think that's just by draft. Boom Esports with a Centaur. You're talking about level 6 team fights, first Chronos coming out, stuff like that. They just press R on their Centaur and they run away.
It's a problem. Another thing with that Oracle, you pointed out the False Promise, they also have the Fate's Edict. They have the Disarm for the Void. That's always I mean, that's why Oracle's considered a complete counter towards the Void. False Promise plus Fate's Edict, well, what the hell are you going to do?
Nothing.
Until you have that BKB, but even then, False Promise. It's all good.
5 seconds remaining.
You know what would be really good in top?
What's that?
Pugna last right now. Just, you have 3 targets you'd have to pick off there. Instead, Storm. We talked, right? Reality Rift doesn't have the stun. They have Spear. They have Cookie. Not reliable. Chronosphere is the best thing they have to keep that Storm in place. So now you have 3 heroes you still have to catch out. Oracle, Ricky, Storm. Catching all 3 is just nearly impossible for any good player, right? Any good team will spread those heroes out. The opportunity to get that perfect Chrono is very slim. Now, if you do land it, you can kill all of them with the right setup. But that's such a lot of weight on the back of that Faceless Void. I wouldn't want that pressure on anyone.
So what could they do? Like, what would you say RR could pick up right now to really make it a little bit easier on this Faceless Void to just do his job and not have to worry about catching every single person?
They'd need a mid laner that has great presence, doesn't need too much farm, and has a pretty decent lockdown. I'd say the Puck kind of slides in here. It gives you good control for the Storm, at the very least, so you're going to be limiting his movement, the Ricky as well. It is still tied to a cooldown, so that is a weakness in this draft, but I think that's really the best choice you have. You band out the DP to give yourself some push potential and some timings and a good silence. The only thing I can really see is Puck or DK. We tend to see the DK come out. You can get the stun off with Dragon Tail in your Dragon form at a decent distance, not instantaneous, but it will give you a little bit more reach. Those are the only 2 options I can see here for RR. They go with the DK instead. I mean, It's good push, it's better push. You do get a little bit more stun from Dragon Form to Dragon Tail. I would have preferred a Puck. I think the Storm has a lot of ways of playing that matchup. Maybe in the laning phase, you know, you're going to be able to find that initial farm. But in the team fights, the control for Mikado is really just baseless void. It has to be Drew's chrono every single time. I am going to be really keen to see how Reality Rift plays around to cooldowns. They're going to have to play this one near perfectly to really pull that off.
Well, on the brighter side of everything, John, it should be a very entertaining game, right? A lot of big ultimates. These team fights should be quite explosive. So for us, we've got nothing to worry about. We've got a great game to watch. I'm not complaining about anyone's draft. I think they're fantastic. Overall, I think we can both agree Boom is a little bit scarier just based on the fact that you have to really find out who you need to prioritize in these team fights and make sure you catch them out. But if they can make that happen, Reality Rift could make it a spectacular victory.
Oh yeah. They just really need to not drop too much in lane. So that's one of the key things. Hit level 6 on all these heroes. That's the hard thing. EXP distribution is just so hard to manage when you have such greedy supports. The Phoenix is pretty greedy, the Snapfire is pretty greedy, and your cores are pretty EXP dependent as well. So you've got to find a way to give all of these guys what they need. And if you can get that done, then the first chrono comes out, it starts rolling from there, right? But you need to ensure that you always ingrain it in your mind. Chrono up, Drew, fight now. That's it.
We should be going into this game too very, very soon. That hasn't seen the schedule yet, and we'll wait for the loading screen first before I go. So for anyone that hasn't seen the schedule this series, we are also going to have Team Adroit versus Geekfan in the next series and the final series of the night. So that should be another pretty great series to watch between those two. And that is straight after this series is over. Of course, there is still a potential for 2 games in this series, this one and the next one, assuming RR can pull off a victory. But if they can't, then we'll be back pretty much within 20 minutes for the next series anyway. Just a heads up. By the way, John, betting odds are up, and it seems as though Boom Esports are still sitting as the favourites before the game even starts. Not too heavy of a favourite yet, but they are looking pretty good in terms of betting odds.
Yeah. Again, they did win game 1. They have been on a bit of a hot streak, so wouldn't really blame it for having Boom as favorites. RR definitely having a lot more to prove here. It's really pivotal for them to just get that started. Like, you can, with the DK at the very least, once you get that Ags up, you do have a lot more potency in that Chronosphere, for example, if you're outside. The build-up is just kind of slow. You know, you're going to have to prioritize that item very quick if you're playing around that sort of team fight combination with the Chronosphere for the DK.
Right. Would it be a 2-for-2 trade on the bounty runes, a very even start as per usual. We did see in the last matchup, both teams were kind of just staying away from each other for the first 15 to 20 minutes or so. In fact, I believe by the 15-minute mark, we'd only seen about 5 or 6 kills. I imagine this time it should be a little more active between the two. You did talk about it a little bit, but are definitely going to want to try and get those spells on cooldown, especially once you have that Chrono, that Arena of Blood. You want to just start making rotations and see if you can set something up and get a little bit of an early snowball advantage for your team. So we shouldn't see as much of a passive game as game number 1.
For sure. Like, you take a look at how the lanes are going right now. They've only got FBZ up all alone, so he's trying to find something by himself. You've got the supports playing a lot more active down bot. You see Boom really trying to ensure that RR doesn't get anything from these lanes. They know what's up. They know the timings RR has to hit. They're not going to make it easy for RR to find that EXP and gold.
Yeah, Hustler, he'll go ahead and pull the creep wave away. Of course, he did get punished quite a bit by the task with tag team. And now he has to deal with Kezcute on the Oracle. Does go for the early level with Scatter Blast, which you do expect anyway. Should be able to fight back reasonably well up against Kezcute. Though I say that Dreamosaur is starting to rotate over to Hustler, and you've got to be a bit careful as they do have that level 1 Fortunes in. Hustler will try and be as disruptive as possible.
Is under attack.
All the equilibrium so far is Boom's way, and they should gain a very early level advantage over the side of RR in this safe lane.
That they really should. I think the one thing about Ricky though is that when it's at the creep wave, when it's at the tower, you don't tend to farm. Although Hustler, pretty darn well.
Very low, but he's actually being healed up by the Purifying Flames. They weren't quite able to finish the job. So First Blood will not be found yet. In fact, Hustler, he basically heals up to 4 HP thanks to those Purifying Flames and the Tango that was active, but they'll go again. Dreamosaur is there. He gets a shotgun to the face and also speared back. He could Blink Strike, but I don't think he could really kill. And he'll leave Hustler be for a little bit. And even the top lane, like we saw the Centaur falling very low while all that was happening.
Yeah, just a lot of pressure. I think that's down to Nuts trying to really apply those fire spirits every time he has them off cooldown. FBZ hasn't been too phased by it, like he is still playing in the lane, but he has expended all his regen out. Nice batch from Drew as well.
FBZ does go down. Drew, he had enough damage. He had the Wraith Band available, and that does give him that little bit of a bonus. And that'll be First Blood going to the Void.
Yeah, you don't want to risk that 100% bash from the Faceless Void. Trade badly and can end bad, although Drew, nice bash again.
It's a very lucky bash. Did he just salve up?
That he did. Just to get out. Just enough regen for him to back off. If he didn't have that last right click from Hyde might have been enough to clean him up. So I don't blame him for wasting that salve in that sense. He still has a full set of tangos, a nice amount of branches if he wants to go for the tree eating. So he's still going to be able to stay in this lane.
Well, Nuts will get caught out, and he's still level 1. He doesn't have the Icarus dive, and that'll be a very easy kill. That's the thing with the Hyde Tusk, he's pretty much always on point with the shards, so if you catch it like that, you are really kind of screwed over. Makoto mid lane does also go down. Alacrity and Hustler will really work together. It looks like it was a cookie coming out from the Snapfire to set up onto the Storm.
It's these rotations that RR will need. You take a look at the state of that mid lane. Before that happened, Mikado just had way too much of a good time. Like, the DK's not dropping low or dying, but he's definitely not stopping that initial farm that Mikado is getting, and we have seen what he can do on the Storm when he gets a good start. He can find so much more on the map later on.
Yeah, just continue to try and slow down Alacrity the best he possibly can. Yeah, there's just nothing stopping him. Like, he'll just static remnant every single time he needs to. One of the lovely things about the Storm as well is you don't really mind pushing the creep wave into the T1 tower, because with those static remnants, it's just so easy to farm neutral camps. But we'll see more damage coming out on Alacrity. Sure, he'll heal all that up with Dragon Blood, but the creep wave gets pushed out, and he will go into the jungle.
Just makes it really easy for Mikado. You aren't seeing too many wards to watch his movement, and of course, the supports are kind of tied up. Hustler did that rotation earlier on, but is kind of tied down. Like, he needs to help KYXY, who is still disrupting the farm of Dreamocell. He's a rookie at 23 to 10, but you're not having the freest time for the Mars. You're not finding those kill ops you'd want with, you know, a Soul Ring up. You'd want the Lando Spears, try to get the Cookie follow-up, burst down to Ricky while he's soft. Just not able to do so just yet.
He's under attack.
FBZ getting chased down right now by Drew and Nuts, so there will be a rotation. Makoto, he cleans up Nuts. And that is a lot of time wasted for Drew. Currently has a creep wave underneath his T1 tower. They really wanted that Centaur kill, but Makoto, just realizing he could afford to jump in and snipe the Phoenix and save his Centaur.
Yeah, just a lovely pick off there. You do see some commitment down bot from RR to try to go on to Dreamocell. Is forced to salve, but otherwise, the combination kicking in from RR, not quite enough to find at Ricky. You do have Kescute around anyway to try to heal him up and bail him out. So the damage from RR kind of lacking at this moment, at the very least.
And you are about to hit that level 4 mark where you have the Fate's Edict and you can really efficiently heal up this Ricky every single time. Kescute should have it with one more creep. Looking back over the mid lane, Alacrity, he has popped the Dragon Form and has actually forced the tier 1 towering quite a bit. Dakota is going to be quite aggressive trying to force him back. He really wants to get that siege creep down, and it will finally drop. Back high now will rotate as well on the Tusk. I don't believe they'll have the kill potential anyway, but they do protect the tier 1, which is really all they want. But I say that, Alacrity is just coming in with a full creep wave, and he's just tanking all the damage. Just using those last seconds of the Dragon Blood before the Dragon Form before it does wear off.
Yeah, I like seeing that coming out from Alacrity.
Loud jump.
Oh, yeah, am I? Uh-huh.
Well, you are now. It's just when you first come in, you just sound loud as hell. Anyway, bot lane, KYXY does end up going down. Kescute finds a kill on the Oracle. I apologize for interrupting, Don. It's just kind of like, you just kind of blasted my ear just there.
Yeah, no problem. My sound card's acting up a bit. Really old thing. Anyway, I like seeing that from Alacrity. Just maximizing that first Dragon Form. Very key to take out that mid tier 1, mainly because it will take a lot away from Mikado. You know, he's not going to have safe access to his jungle anymore once you take that out.
Cutting edge. Double damage.
Bot lane, they do end up finding that snap fire, but Alacrity now going to get jumped. Tag team is there from high. Alacrity is so tanky, now KYXY rotates in. He isn't level 6, but it's not really necessary, or maybe it is Kescute. He's trying to heal up the snowball. He's safe for now. Kescute just going to wait around, but he does go down at the end, as Hyde will now try to run the best he can. And a spear perfectly connects from KYXY. They do pick up both supports, and if you really want to, with that Dragon Form up, you can continue trying to force into T1, but Alacrity, underneath the T1 tower, they'll rotate nuts down to the Phoenix, and they really do want to just prioritize his tower.
Very low.
This one's going to come in. The tower's already done. I'm not sure if this is the fight. KYXY, he's just going to stand his ground up against Dakota, but eventually should die. I don't know. He stick charges up, but Purifying Flames will just take him out. But I think RR still wins that outright, because you take the tier 1 tower and you force 4 heroes to rotate mid and really only just find one Mars pickoff.
Definitely. It's still something RR is going to be very happy with. Like, that mid-tier 1 is what they want. So Mikado is going to have a bit of a harder time having safe farm in his jungle camps, but they still find at least a kill, like a consolation prize for Boom. They did throw Dreamo Cell up very early on, so he's not farming in his lane, which is probably a good thing, as RR is setting up for the bot tier 1 push now as well.
Oh, Alacrity going to get surrounded, however. They know he's farming there somewhere, in order to make the jump. Fortune's in, tag team, they should have the damage, but again, KYXY is there. But you still don't have that level 6 on the Mara, and Alacrity, he won't get the cookie off in time from Hustler. And with that KYXY, he may also go down. You'll see Nuts come in, but he's only level 3 on the Phoenix. And the snowball will connect. He does lose his life as KYXY misses a spear, and that should mean his life is forfeit, as well as FBZ. Going for the Stampede, they want absolutely everybody. They will not get Hustler, but who cares about the support Snapfire? You found so much more.
You found all of those kills, and right before the 10-minute mark, Dreamo Cell and Hyde took the outpost. So they got all the XP from both outposts as well. Just in the middle of that fight, they break off, they just capture, they cop some damage, they get the XP in the end. A big win for Boom from that little trade at the 2k advantage in gold, and setting themselves up quite nicely in terms of the XP. This is a massive issue for RR with their draft. They need level 6 on all of their heroes, on their Mars, on their Phoenix, and they're just not quite there yet.
Drew, one of the Kisses Chrono going to be committed, but the snowball! In fact, no snowball. What was that? He just disappeared. Never mind. Hyde threw the shards and apparently just hit the storm. Nevertheless, Hyde going to be run down. Snowball now comes out, but he should die.
Not much to do there. They did finally throw out that first chrono. I believe that's Drew's first chrono of the game. They find the biggest target they could. So you are kind of keeping Mikado in check. That's definitely what you want to see. You are seeing the power of that combination if you do land the Chronosphere out. With your Snapfire around, the Kisses makes easy work of any hero. A lot of potential there for RR. They will need to play around that. But you would like to see them continuously pumping that out and continuously keeping Boom on edge with that potential.
We do also finally see KYXY at 6. And that is going to be pretty important. If I may compare the two offlaners though, FBZ sitting at level 8, about to hit that level 9 mark, and is currently forcing in a tier 2 tower at the top lane. He does use his Hood of Defiance and is moving forward onto Nuts. Nuts does have Icarus Dive, so he should be okay, but Dream Missile is waiting on the right side. Icarus Dive, but Dream Missile in the exact right spot. And that is just fantastic positioning and prediction coming out from Dream Missile. And they are able to secure that top tier 2. In fact, mid lane, they make another jump. Drew, he gets caught out. Arena of Blood is there to help out. The Time Warp isn't off cooldown this time. He'll lose his life. KYXY trying to run away. He'll hold his shield up, but it doesn't matter. As Hustler still trying to fight, but it really doesn't matter at all. He's only a Snapfire now. Alacrity, he was joining into the team fight, but although he's tanky, he's not really that tanky when you're surrounded by 5 heroes, and he will be the 4th to drop in that team fight.
4 heroes dropping off the bat for RR. Just like that, they tried to jump the Storm Spirit, but without that chrono, we talked about it from the draft, you cannot hope to do enough without the Chronosphere onto Mikado, right? He's just gonna have free reign to jump in and out. That gave them a massive opportunity from Boom to just immediately go for their kills after getting the top tower. And now they're rotating around Nuts once more. Level 5 heroes.
Snowball. Fortune's end a bit too late. Could they turn this? No Arena. KYXY thought about throwing the spear out, but didn't really have a tree to latch onto. That'll be the end of that. A 4K net worth lead at 13.5 minutes here for Boom. They are looking great.
Dire's bottom tower is under
The graph, that's what it looks like. RR just not able to really get themselves much of a lead. And they did have a slight net worth lead around that 5 to 10 minute mark, but that is certainly dissipated now. Maybe they find Makoto, but let's see a Void around with Chrono. Drew, he's down a bot lane, trying to finish off his Diffusal Blade. Well, he'll spot FBZ up, but I don't think that's the target he really wants to see. He gets a lucky bash, but it really means Jack. Well, maybe he does. FBZ is falling quite low. If you get a couple more bashes, maybe you could commit Chrono. But, well, he has heroes rotating in. KYXY and Hustler are there. Arena is up. Mortimer's Kiss is also up. You do have Stampede on FBZ. Dream Missile gonna be there. FBZ fading. Arena comes up now. Sunray to try and burn John Hunt's posture. There's the Stampede and the False Promise. Drew, where's the Chrono? He commits it, but it was all a feint. They've lost Nuts from the Phoenix. Snapfire pieces fly up, and everyone else is probably gonna die here as RR needs to back the hell out of here immediately. Snapfire fires back. Alacrity is getting surrounded. Somehow FBZ survived throughout all of this, and Alacrity now gonna slowly be chipped away at. As Fortune's then does connect to Makoto, he's afraid of nothing, but the Chrono is down. Cookie misses, Snowball connects on 2. Drew trying to run, in fact he's trying to fight, but really, I think it's time to leave, and what a shot coming out from Hyde. That is terrible, terrible news for the RR fans out there.
They bit the bait. FBZ is not the target to go for. They know they are trying to play around their timings. They do want to find those kills, but you don't opt to settle for a Centaur that you can't even finish off. They will find Kesky, maybe.
The 3 heroes chasing him down. Kesky says, I want to die. Kill me. It's fine. It's always a little bit demotivating when it takes 3 heroes, 2 of those heroes being cores, to have to get involved and kill a position 5 Oracle.
For sure, right? You have to expend a lot to get that kill. RR blew pretty much all of their ults, except for Egg. So, not still has Egg, you don't have Chrono. You will have Kisses up in around 20 seconds, so there is an opportunity there. And you do have Arena up from KYXY. So there is some ways to counterplay now, but Boom knows without a Chrono, they have leeway to just farm up however they want. And you have to be a bit cautious on, like, Dreamo Cell. But Mikoto has free reign while this is done, and they... Boom are in a position to just take their time. Just farm up, no pressure.
Oh, Drew, he just timed it. He could be in big trouble. But they'll go up. The Phoenix nuts, drops a sentry ward. Who's gonna die? Drew needs to get out immediately, and he does. He time walks away. He'll be fine. The Green Cell with that diffusal blade up is gonna be a real menace now for RR, because you really don't have escape mechanisms for the Smokescreen diffusal. In fact, mid lane, I believe it was. No, in fact it was top lane. Hustler getting caught out by Makoto on the Storm. Nobody's safe on the map for RR. Absolutely nobody.
No, it really is. Yeah, right. There's just no place to be that you can safely feel like you can just farm up. You have an Invis Ricky walking around with so much space. You have Mikoto who can just dive in. You've got even Hyde is kind of mobile with that snowball. So there's a lot to be cautious about here for RR. They do have a Chrono up. So this is the moment for them to try to take a fight. Drew should be joining his team to go for a defense or trying to make a move. Does wait for his defusal, so he's going to have a bit more damage in that Chrono.
You've also got the Bloodstone now up from Makoto. So he's going to have plenty more sustain, as well as that active, which, you know, after a Chrono can be very, very effective to just heal you back up substantially and essentially allow you to reset and get back into the team fight if they don't kill you off.
Dire's top tower is
We'll see, Boom, they may wish to get more aggressive as that Bloodstone is now available. On top of that, FBZ has got the pipe as well as a Vanguard. I don't know if he really wants to finish off the Crimson Guard yet, because perhaps they're not really afraid of the damage coming out of RR at the moment. He may opt to go for the Blink, and it looks like he is. But FBZ's farm of the Centaur is also extremely scary. Like, he is a non-target. In fact, they do jump the Ricky, but there's the Fate's Edict. We talked about this. You have to get the Oracle first. Drew, he's been caught out in that smoke screen. Now the tactic is over. Makoto, he'll jump in with the Vortex. He does grab the boy, but not quick enough. He palm walks away. Now the X-Star going to be there on Makoto. He does go down. That is a huge kill for RR. Green Assault blinks out of there, but he's been slowed by the defusal of Drew. Cookie, not going to stun anybody. Sentries everywhere for Dream Assault, but they're just going to settle on Hyde. The smoke screen too annoying. No always punch tag team, but Drew should be able to get this kill eventually. So no, snowball away. Hyde is on the Great Escape. He had the TP scroll, but can he juke them out well? Hustle's gonna find him. There's no way out of this. He tries to shards block himself.
I can't believe you punched the
But RR, I thought it was a terrible start after that Chrono committal on a solo Ricky without the Oracle. Turns out there was a bit of a misplay from Makoto. He got stunned up by the DK and then followed up by the Phoenix Egg, and that was enough.
Yeah, a lot more going the way of RR. It's still not the ideal fight. In fact, they're losing Hustler.
Yeah, Makoto will get himself a nice Bloodstone charge after losing a few. Smokes immediately after that creep wave, and they want revenge, and they want it now. They still know they are way ahead of RR, and without Chrono Arena and Dragonform, and even Ed, there's just no way you fight into the side of Boom. Problem is, nobody from RR is really showing on the map. So you are going to have to venture pretty deep into the Dire side to try and find out where these heroes are, and they will just hold in their base.
I like the patience here from RR. They understand that they would be hunted down at this moment, right when they don't have the Chrono up. They just need to wait about half a minute, then it's going to be back up, then they can try again. If they keep getting these combinations off and force Boom to kind of split their focus like that, they aren't quite equipped to really deal with the Egg just yet, although they might be giving a Roshan away.
Double damage!
Well, can you fight? Like, you've got Arena back up. Chrono's 10 seconds away. They may have time if they can extend the team fight, but they need to go right now. They don't have vision, however. It looks like they're just not aware. They'll scan it out, but it's too late. Boom will pick it up.
Did I miss? Stupendous.
Smoke is still there, so they could try to go for a team fight and just ignore Makoto. They'll see a target they hate looking at, which is FBZ on the Centaur, and FBZ just running forward. He doesn't care. KYXY gets a nice spear off. Dragon Claw being popped, and they want to jump on that Oracle. Kiss is flying in. Egg to be popped immediately, and with that Oracle dead, they can't afford to fight into this, I don't think, but now the egg is over. FBZ, he's been left behind. He's a very, very tanky boy. KYXY, Arena of Blood, and now Dream himself jumps on the Phoenix. They do find one. Snowball on to the boy through. He's falling low. Can they actually take him out, however? Waller's punch won't be enough. Dream himself now getting Chronoed up through. He's found a high priority target, but they're losing support in the backline still. RR really good. A very nice spear on Makoto, pushing him out of the team fight. And now FBZ, he's been left alone, and he's gonna die. And RR John, against all odds, are winning these team fights. They did not aim Makoto, they completely ignored him, and he still has the Aegis, but it means nothing if you can't use it.
Yeah, they're making the most out of all of these faults they have. They did get the big target there. They found the Oracle first. That set the pace for them. Boom just relies so much on the threat and presence of Kezki that when he drops like that, you are losing out in these exchanges. You're not going to have any way of really making Drew double think about dropping that Chronosphere. You're not going to have a way of saving your Storm, saving your Ricky, and that leaves Boom very vulnerable. This does give a lot more to Reality Rift. They are still playing 8k behind, but you are starting to see all of the things they want come together. They're playing around their cooldowns quite well. Drew has been pretty on point, at the very least, with the follow-ups on Chrono, like just tossing it out to the Ricky when that Oracle's gone is pretty much enough. I think the issue for Boom was that they were trying to force it in, even though they were fighting from the low ground. So they're forcing a very odd fight to begin with, and that's something Boom has to avoid. If they give RR the space and the position advantage like that, then these spells will wreak havoc. They lose their Oracle straight up, everything else will fall apart.
Well, Boom, they still hold an 8k net worth lead. Like, it's not really budging at all. It went down by about 1 or 2k in that team fight, but that's really not that much. But if they can do that a couple more times, Makoto jumping onto Drew, the Hood stop, it connects and cancels the TP. It's always very scary when you hear that ball lightning coming from a mile away as you're TPing. And I believe the Static Remnant gave enough vision for FBZ to get the stun off. And with that, the tier 2 bot tower will be lost.
That's the last outer tower for RR as well. So once they lose that, the map is going to be a bit harder to go around. That will allow Boom to really just apply that pressure and really start hunting a lot more. They should take care of these wards though. RR does have some pretty fantastic wards to watch the movement out. That means they're not going to find anything from this smoke.
Yeah, nice TP up. KYXY, he's sticking around. He does have a Blink TP available if he just wants to blink deeper into the trees. He won't need it.
It's under attack.
Just TP straight out of there. Again, they just hold in their base. All ultimates available for RR, so we'll smoke up again.
Ward. That was under ward.
Uh-oh.
Boom is completely aware, although he could still get caught out. We've seen this happen before. FBZ.
Well, FBZ, he's frontlining. He'll break the smoke, trying to bait them in. We've seen this one before. KYXY misses the initial spear, Makoto. He does get stunned. This could be really bad for him. He gets the Chrono off in time. Not quite. They will not get it off. Now FBZ goes straight onto that Snapfire. Arena will be dropped. Does catch a few of the egg. There's also then Makoto trying to focus it, but they caught him out of the stun. The Aegis will expire. Now a very nice Chrono, but he's locked in his own team as well. Hyde with a nice shot. Makoto still trying to zip around, but it looks like Boom have no business in this team fight. They need to get out. Hyde, he will get speared into a tree, and he will be the secondary to die. And so RR, although again we see a couple of misplays, they still win out in the team fight, only losing the Snapfire themselves. They also claim the Aegis on top of that Ricky Tusk.
Really big exchange there for RR. Boom is starting to have some issues. Every single time the team fight starts to break out, they're not quite sure where to put that focus. They don't focus down the egg, although Drew
Yeah, Drew, you can't. Just because they're in these team fights doesn't mean they're completely safe. They still have no map control. We talked about in the draft phase, Boom Esports, they have great single pickoff potential.
They're gonna have better team fight now as well. Mikado finishing up the Ags on the Storm.
Ouch.
They have way bigger AoE control. That's something they were kind of lacking beyond FBZ.
Oh, the mini black hole is here from the Storm, and that's a concern. That is a real big concern. If you are Boom right now, you know the ultimates are down, you definitely want to try for another pick off. Nuts, gonna get caught. Dream Assault will pick up that kill on the Phoenix. Only issue for Boom, I'd say, is that they don't have a creep wave pushed in, so they can't really capitalize off these ultimates being down.
That's going to be really fortunate for RR. Don't have to worry about it too much. By the time that creep wave comes in, you could see the chrono being very close. It's just about a minute off, although.
Yeah, but go onto the Mars. Yeah, KYX, he dropped the arena, but FBZ doesn't care about it. Fortune Z. Nobody can be there to help out KYXY. He just dies. Keskip, don't want to pick up the kill on the Oracle. That's always nice as a support.
It's the damage. Those Purifying Flames just eats right through that Mars. You really have to be careful here as RR. Like, again, they are finding these combinations in the fights, but... Oh boy.
Bot lane, what they found is going to be the Void Drew.
They just dip out a bit too much. Even right by that ramp, that's a dangerous spot all by yourself as to face this Void. You get punished hard.
They finally checked for the base ward. They do get it, but it got so much value for Boom in that time. Like,
it spotted that smoke way earlier on. That was pretty much it. That was enough. It told them, it gave them that Drew kill as well because they knew no one was really close enough to bail them out.
yeah.
They've just gotten so much value. Deward it now, sure, that's fine. They've already gotten the most out of it, and Boom looks to be pretty much set to, once more, set the pace of the game. You look to RR though. Chronosphere will be back up when Drew is up. They have the egg, they have the arena, they have the kisses. We could see that big team fight break out once more, and Boom, they haven't been respecting the power of that.
Oh, Makoto. Cookie is going to be there, only pushing KYXY forward. Won't lead to anything anyway. You do have all ultimates up apart from the Dragon Form right now. So they may just wait 40 seconds for that Dragon Form before they try to go for another team fight on the side of RR. Or perhaps you just wait for the high ground push coming out from Boom, but I do believe Boom will probably just wait for the next Roshan. In fact, it is up in about an hour, a minute at 40 seconds, not an hour. That would be a little bit too long. In fact, never mind, they won't. They smoke up, smoke will be broken. Ping's coming out immediately.
That was from the low ground in the camp. They dust up, but Drew was nowhere there. So they're just kind of stuck.
Radiant are scanning.
This is really awkward.
They know.
Haste!
Oh, they definitely know. And FBZ gets started on KYXY, trying to bait them in again. Here comes the Dragon Form from Alacrity. Dream Assault will put the smoke screen down. They don't want to aim the Centaur. They know this. They've learned from their past 2 mistakes. And Alacrity will go on to hide instead. The Tusk is even quite a tanky target. He'll snowball up and go into the neutrals. Meanwhile, Drew is standing and pretending he's a tree, just waiting for the right moment. But Boom Esports do not group up. They don't show themselves. They wait. And neither one really commits.
A lot of restraint from both teams. RR knowing that, you know, the Centaur is really not the target to go for. And Boom this time, not clumping up. We've seen them make that mistake multiple times, coalescing into where RR is, getting punished severely. After 2 fights of that, they are just playing the patient game. So they're not going to be rushing in head first. They know they have the potential for their solo pickoffs. They've killed Drew alone couple of times. That's probably what they're going to be looking for, or waiting for at least one of the spells to be blown first. Either the egg or the Chronosphere gone first, and then that's when Boom will make their move. So until then, the pressure is on RR to actually use these spells. Like, they're sitting up there, they're not using it, they're not finding kills. which means that they're not finding a way back in to narrow that net worth lead Boom has to try to take control back in the map. This still does favor Boom.
They have an opportunity to commit those ultimates now though. The Roshan is going to be taken. Problem is they don't have wards around the Roshan because they haven't been able to leave the base. And so unless you scan right now, you're going to have no clue this is happening. And as of now, it's too late anyway. They can't break the gap between themselves and the Roche pit. So another Roshan will go to the way of Boom Esports. Cheese and Aegis this time around. The Cheese, of course, will go to the Ricky, I believe, and yeah, Dreamsoul picks it up for himself. In that time, RR do at least get a BKB up on Alacrity, so he won't be quite as affected by the storm. And you've also got a Magic Style up on Drew, so a bit more damage for him. And they may go for a fight. They spun out FBZ. Alacrity does have the blink to initiate for his team.
FBC has a heart now. That's not a target you'll ever want to go for in any case. Like, hard on scent, 32 minutes in, going for the Ags next. So once that Ags is up, I think Boom would be much more comfy in taking these fights, right? They've got a way to kind of mitigate that damage. They've got a lot more ways to fight. I think it's going to be super useful for the high ground. They're not going to be constrained by that ramp. You have the BKB on Mikado, so you can't even rely on that Dragon Tail anymore for the stun and the cookie. It has to be the Chronosphere.
Whoa, what'd I miss? Over here!
It is on the courier. Boom and smoked up as 4. Of course, Makoto can just zip across the map, so they don't need him to smoke up. He'll happily show himself at the bot lane. Boom, however, aren't going to really find anybody they really want to go for. Unless it's Drew. And Drew, again on the stairs, this time he does climb walk away and Makoto does not get the vortex off. Not in time anyway. But look at FBC. He's using Retaliate to push in that tier 3 tower, and he's out healing the tower damage. And apparently Drew does no damage to him. They jump in now with Makoto at 9 vortex. Arena on blood. Will we drop it? Drew is dead. He doesn't have fire call. The Phoenix will at least be able to tick all the way up. And perhaps you find Makoto, but that is only an Aegis. Can you find him a second time? Not with that big getting a water vortex. Makoto, he found 3 of them. They will all go one. They buy back as well. The KYS line, he's falling way too quick. He's there. Now they'll go onto Alacrity. The DK also going to go down. He tries to fight the best he can, but he doesn't have buyback either. And they're just driving tier 4. Dream is on ultra killing a rampage. They won't get it yet. Come on, Boom. Give him the rampage. GD's been caught. KY's like, no. He will stun. Before the game ends. Smoke screen rampage is there. Dream will steal it before the game is over. KY's like trying to rule Christmas for Dream himself. He will not get away with it. There is no Grinches in this game too. And that'll be it for this series, John. Boom Esports convincingly take a 2-0 up against RR.